I had no idea that there was an opera being written about the Tin Palace. I think it is extremely appropriate in its inappropriateness. Then the Tin Palace, honey, the language was jazz. I'm Bob Holman, I'm a poet. I'm standing on the corner in front of the Tin Palace, used to be, directly across the street from where I live.
The Tin Angel opera takes place in a former iteration or version of the bar in which we are filming this.
Home for a bunch of homeless, the artists. It was a study hall for people who had ears that were big enough to hear the jazz. It was a writing studio for those who used bar napkins and pencil stubs. It was the color blue at all times of the day and night, and it was nutritious even if there was no food to be had.
The opera is a murder mystery novel, and it takes place mostly in the bar, and then also in what Paul Pines, the writer of the novel on which this opera is based, called the liminal space, where people are expressing their feelings, expressing their imagination, and also sometimes conversing with people who are no longer with us. But the opera itself starts with a murder of one of two owners of the club, Ponce and Pablo. And Ponce is murdered right at the start in a drug deal gone bad. The story's just phenomenal. The characters are etched so that you feel you're living with them in the story, whether it's Lisa the waitress, or whether it's Pablo coming in and finding out that the bar has been broken into, and what's he gonna do about it? How is he gonna manage? And he's gotta figure out how to try and get his dough back and make sense of his place in this world. It's about people surviving in this somewhat down and out location and trying to make a go of it. Well, I'm kind of blown away, quite frankly, because I might vaguely have known that a bunch of the guys who actually were in the bar at that time are going to be here. And I'm going to look at them, I'm going to say, I already know you, because Paul has described you so well, at least as you were.
We almost burned the place down one night at somebody's birthday party. The amazing thing that happened was the soda machine caught on fire, blew up and put out the fire. Yeah, I worked there first, and then Frank got a job in the kitchen, right?
Yes, first I was a dishwasher, and then I came back as a cook, yeah, which I had sworn I would do, and I did.
I was a waitress. I mean, at the time, I'd never worked anywhere, and I figured, who else was going to hire me except another poet?
Paul was working on it when we met at the McDowell Arts Colony in 78, 79. And it's all about New York, about the Lower East Side.
Paul was a brilliant poet, brilliant writer, period. He was also totally in love with jazz. And he knew it. He knew jazz really well.
Yes, he knew music, period.
Yeah.
And, I would describe Paul as a conquistador of time. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. He was an extraordinary human being, and people sort of gathered around him like a satellite. He just
took in strays, like me.
He took in all kinds of people, and they mixed together. And yeah, the Stones came in, the Stones would hang out in there, and other people, all actors. There was like just a cross-section of people. And it was, everyone was equal in there.
I wouldn't feel like I did my job unless I read one of Paul's poems for you in front of his house. This is from Last Call at the Tin Palace, called Living High Off Nickels and Dimes. Friday night at the Tin Palace in the basement. I hear you, Jolie, coming through the floor to me, sitting near the beer box. The tips are bad tonight. I had to deal with two turkeys who didn't want to cafe, and a clown outside smashing himself against the wall of the cafe, throwing kicks at the passing cars. You know, sometimes I get uptight. Sometimes the rigging of my life feels as fragile as deep jazz in a small club. Hey, Monty, you've opened my ears. It's true. And downstairs, we share a joint, and you tell me jazz is a baby, still growing, and you must take your time and just do for it to grow. And it will, and you do. I'll tell you what it feels like to be a survivor before I go home. Paul Pines. Okay, thank you.